Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Kruse with Embrace Ayurveda, and I have my dear sister and friend, Jenna McDonald, here with us today. Jenna, so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Such a pleasure.
I've known Jenna for some years and have so delighted in watching Jenna's unfoldment. And it's just been beautiful to watch you blossom and to inspire other women around you, mothers, women of all ages, young women. I've actually known some young women, even in high school, who've gone through your courses, and it's just set such a beautiful foundation for their lives. So I want to hear more about that and for you to share that with my people here. But I want to just hear about your journey and more about who you are. You're a woman, you're a mother, you're a yoga teacher, and so much more. So I thought I'd just let you go ahead and share, Jenna.
Oh, thank you so much. And yes, it's so funny. It's always like what to share about my life, my biography that brings me to stand where I am today. And it's such a privilege to serve from my current stand as a mother of two and a quantum birther and, a real advocate of a maternal world, the returning to a matricentric culture that honors the stages of women and is able to see women as they are, not as we have been taught to see them. So much of my work right now is with women. And it's with women because it's within the woman that we can go into that deep psyche and into the body and start to clear all those memories, whether they be whatever your language, whether they be of trauma or assumptiveness or conclusions that we've made about what it is to be a woman, what it is to be vulnerable, what it is, to be a man, and our perceptions of men, and really like so much of my work right now is about learning to give and receive differently. And in many ways, it starts with the breath. And it's so intimate, like the work is so intimate now. And so I think what I'll share about my journey is that I was definitely initiated by fire. I was initiated by life experiences, that no one wants to have, by adversity. And that adversity led me to seeing the things in myself, in my codes and my DNA that birthed those gnarly experiences and that wanted my full presence, And so my experience in this life has been like, until those things are cleared, my body, mind, my psyche, my biology, my physiology continue to cultivate challenging experiences so that I can get in touch with those original feelings that want to be cleared from my matrix, basically, for my children and for our future. So a big kind of pivotal moment for me was 20 years old in the jungles of Peru, studying plants and having my own, like I said, like adversities that led me into that space of knowing I would do anything to heal. And I think so many women get to that place of, like being done and knowing that I have to heal. I have to heal what's in me and what has been given. And so, yeah, that led me into plant medicine. Plant medicine led me to Sanskrit, of all places, like opened the gates of Sanskrit in my codes and ended up with my teacher, Swami Bhagishananda in Bali, and then Swami Tattvavidananda, and studying yoga, from a very deep. And I would say, the way I studied yoga in the beginning was like, I was holding onto it for dear life. It was like the lifeline, and it worked. And that it moved me then into like the physical asana and the breath work. And so now I've been teaching for about 15 years and guiding people through transformative shamanic breathing, asana, philosophy, Ayurveda, and yeah, trying to give us the foundation of self-love that it takes to then study like life to be present to life. So yeah, that's what I'm feeling called to share today.
Oh, so beautiful, Jenna. Thank you for sharing your journey and your story. And I feel like the way in which you live by facing life's adversities, head on with your heart and, seeking truth, seeking ancient teachings that you can apply right now, and to be that living example, for your children and for other women in your community, and then to create these containers, these safe spaces for women to stand alongside you as they're ready to face their stuff internally and have that support of each other. And I've been hearing about one of your current programs, your She Journey, and I'm really fascinated to hear more about that. I've been talking with some of your students, and they've shared how their unfolding is just making such a difference, how they're growing rapidly in their own lives by just having a teacher like you, a guide, a mentor, and other classmates, to explore these deeper subjects with. So if you could share about your She Journey offering, I'm just fascinated.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny. It's one of those things that it's like, you just don't know until you're in it. It's like medicine or life or birth. You can tell somebody about birth, but until they've birthed, it's all an idea in the mind. So I just want to honor that, honor the program for what it truly is, which is so much more than we could say. It's like we're pointing to the moon, but the thing itself is so big. So yeah, so that is She. And it's a play on a lot of work by Genevieve Vaughn and her scholarship. And she really studies the incredible capacity of women as the maternal gender, and she's really able to come forward and say, we live in a market, but we are born of the gift. And so remembering that our interactions, our first interactions, this is Vedic also, is with mother, first teacher, and that first teacher teaches through relationship. She doesn't teach about things. It's not acquisitional learning. It's not conquesting for information and knowledge, but it's reciprocity. It's demonstrating what's called unilateral giving, which means the mother gives without any actual return from that. No ROI on raising children, by the way. It's like, that is the gift. It's the origin of the gift economy. And, the gift economy is our portal into an abundant experience of life versus a scarce experience of life. So it's so deep, that necessity of coming back to the maternal, coming back to the gift, coming back to an abundant reality, and really honoring the divine mother. And so much of what I see in my women is that in the Western culture, we haven't necessarily been able to handle our mother-father wounds, our inner child, in a way that is so generative, and so transformative, that it's like we're leaving that gift on the table. And so, yeah, She is so much about bringing the reverence back to the maternal and giving women an opportunity to truly, maybe for the first time, see themselves as fully esteemed and dignified, especially as they move into motherhood. And out of that maiden form, many of us haven't had a rite of passage other than actually giving of our bodies and birthing. We haven't had a rite of passage that states like you're moving from this maiden archetype into mother archetype. And being a mother is about birthing new futures, not just children, but whole planetary futures. So it's really like opening the gates. And so that's like my intro. Is there anything, I know you might want to know more, but.
Yeah, I love what you said about standing and being esteemed and dignified, like standing in that place of that, because in Ayurveda, which you so well know is the sister science of yoga, the definition of true health is called swastha, to be fully established within yourself. To be fully established within yourself is the ultimate definition of health on all levels, right?
Get chicken skin. Yes. Established in oneself, which is also the self.
The
right?
self. Yes. Yes. And so I see what you're doing as an opportunity for women to be fully established and to kind of reset one's mindset around abundance and around just, the beauty that it is to be a woman, and to maybe connect with, what might have gotten left behind, maybe rites of passages that didn't happen, or acknowledgements that didn't happen along the way, to reconnect with those parts of ourselves as we go forward. I think it's so powerful. And I just want to say, I think your She journey is also within the context of a yoga teacher training. Is that right?
Yeah. And it's so funny. I feel like somehow that's the gateway. It's what we know, it's what we can deeply relate to. And to just throw women into an experience that is reclamation, that is redignifying, that is going back. And Clarissa Pinkola Estes says she has a practice called descansos, where you mark all the places that you died a little bit in your life, and you go back and you bring her back. Your wise woman of today goes back and calls back that self. And so we work with that community of selves. And part of that is calling back the physical body, the territory of our body. So to me, it's like also my relationship to yoga has changed so much. And it feels like there's such a deep connection between the degradation of land and the degradation of the female body. In fact, there's almost no difference. And so the more that we go back in through the asana, and asana also means to take one's rightful seat. So it's all paths are leading to the ocean. It's all, I love that about Sanskrit. It's like eventually all the words lead you right home to yourself. And that territory of the body, it's like, it's our first home. It's our eternal home. In a way, it's where our consciousness gets to reside. And so taking care of that body through these incredible shapes and like calling back that territory, and doing whatever, there's so much forgiveness work in the work I do as well. So much ho'oponopono, so much going back in and saying, I'm sorry, like for anything I've done, my ancestors have done that have kept me apart from this body, that have kept me apart from the other people, the other species, the land, and making that a part of the yoga. So it is a 300-hour yoga teacher training. And, I wanted that because it gives it structure, and it allows us to really do the work and say, okay, I'm committed, for 300 hours of my life to dedicate my time to the study of me. It's a journey into the garden of self. So most people won't just invest a large sum of money and 300 hours to study themselves. But the trick is, if we put it under the guise of the yoga teacher training, then the part of our brain and our psyche that's still looking for those external validations can validate, and then we can do the deeper work.
I love that, Jenna. And you also offer your Radiance yoga teacher training. And does one come before the other, or how does that go?
Yeah. So the Radiance 200-hour teacher training is kind of it's my flagship. Like, I've done it for so many years. I've had so many women go through that program and come out and say, like, my whole life is different. I'll never be the same. Like, I have self-care practices that are going to take me, through my death, like not to my death, but through my death, or who it's helped them, like, help their parents pass. And, the depth of the yoga is such that it's a 200-hour foundational course, but it's essential, right? It's kind of like Sanity 101, how to live 101, all the things we weren't taught that we should have been taught, type of thing. Yeah, so I am going to lead another 200-hour this spring. I had a lot of people knocking on my door, and I was like, no, I'm doing the 300-hour. And you get enough knocks and genuine women, wanting to begin the journey. And so on March 24th, of 2023, we're going to start module 1 of the Radiance teacher training. Yeah.
Beautiful. And that's the foundation. If people want to go further into the she journey, then they can go into that afterwards.
They would do the Radiance first, and then they would do the she after. Yeah.
And Jenna, are you offering all of these trainings in person on Bainbridge Island where you work and teach, or is a part of that available virtually? How do you teach these days?
Yeah, I can be flexible. So if it's all based on the earnestness of the student. So if a student really wants the work, we can build private YTTs. I can do private sessions via Zoom. The Radiance should be done at least in part in person for that baseline physicality. And, you know, you need the hands-on. Sometimes you need somebody to touch your body, to understand your body, to receive it again. So that the 200-hour module 1 is in person. The second part of that can be done privately on Zoom. It can be done in retreat format. But then the she journey is really open to people everywhere. Because the format is we meet for months of coaching prior to our 2 weeks in Costa Rica. And so women can say, yes, I want to journey to Costa Rica. I'll work with you privately. We'll do the 300-hour in private sessions on Zoom or in person in my home studio. And then we go all together as a group on location for 2 weeks. So it's kind of this perfect storm, perfect fusion of being accessible, but also requiring women to pause their lives, you know, and come for that time and make a commitment to oneself.
Oh, it sounds so enticing and rich with content, experience, with the final retreat in Costa Rica. Amazing. Yeah, just taking that time to deepen over a period of time, 2 weeks of like intensive dropping into oneself, and that setting, I imagine, is very profound.
Yeah, really strong vasanas, right? In the mind, in Ayurveda, it's vasana. It's a groove in the mind, and we need time to make new grooves. You know, so we do a lot of deconditioning work going up to it, and then the time together. We also have medicine ceremony that's a part of that. We have incredible teachers that live on the land that are a part of that, you know, who are really integrated in these lifestyles of yoga. So it's also not just me, you know, it's a collective of care, which is a really beautiful experience, like a disconfirming experience for so many women who've spent a lot of time in isolation. You know, and we really need to create those new vasanas of I am held, I am seen, I am heard, it is possible, you know, and this is what I can choose.
Wow, so beautiful. No better time than right now for what you're offering.
Right, because we also, oh, go ahead.
Just after so much time of people being isolated and trying to sort things out on their own and source from within, it's like at some point, we just need our community and some teachers and nature to hold us in a different way.
Yes, and water and fire and the elements, and remembering how, using all of those things, one, to help us return to gratitude for those things, and also to use those things to remind us of who we really are fundamentally, you know, and how connected, how deeply connected we really are, despite the appearance of being so isolated.
So true. Well, I'm just wanting to go back a little bit to your Radiance training, which that's starting in March. And I have a lot of clients and friends in Seattle who might be wanting to know more about the in-person. So is that every weekend initially, or how often are the in-person trainings for the Radiance training?
Great. Everything I do now is what is by what is called emergent strategy. So yeah, I'm very particular about my language and how I do things. So just bear with me. But essentially every year it will be different because the needs of communities are changing. The needs of the people who are coming are changing, and my needs are changing. So this year, what I can promise is that on March 24th to April 16th, We have 4 weekends in a row. And it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 9 to 3. And so it's kind of nice because for moms, sometimes they can sneak in that Friday fully childcare, kids are in school type of thing. And then we make the commitments for the weekends. And we do that 1 month, 4 weekends of 3 days. And that's module 1. And then module 2 is either done, like I said, privately and with the support. I have a whole portal, right? Because of COVID, give thanks to COVID. There's a whole portal with the entire 200 hour in there. But I will never ask a person to do that again, right? It's like, it's just there as a resource. So they have the portal, they have me for private sessions, or they can opt for like, oh, wait, I'd rather do more in person. We're going to wait for the retreat at the end of August, early September. And those dates are TBA. But that's going to be a really powerful constellation of giving and receiving. It's going to be with a masculine teacher as well, with a male. And we're going to hold that giving and receiving and breath work focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one more piece that I appreciate about your teachings, Jenna, is how you always weave in breath work as such an important portal to oneself and one's practice. It's something that I also do in different ways with my clients, and almost every session is connect to the breath as a starting point.
That aloha, right? We're here. This is what it's all about. You know, it's like the breath that we're sharing. Yeah.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing all this. And so you have a lot that you're offering based on what people are asking and requesting. Anything else you want to share about what is next, or what ideas you have for your offering, your teaching going forward that you feel like sharing today?
Well, I think the big thing is also that I'm already enrolling for SHE 2024. So if women want to place deposits, because that's going to fill up fast, many of the women who are coming this time are going to come back in a cycle. So part of that program is really going through the work with women the first time, and then giving all those women an ability to come back at the cost of lodging and ceremony and this sort of thing, so that they can continue to be a part of the community. So I feel like that's a really important thing to speak, is that everything I'm doing now is with the end goal of truly creating a community of not equals, because we're never equal, but of beautiful differences and long-term connection. So that's one thing, is that people can start to connect with me around the SHE program for next year and initiate a journey. And then we get to decide when we begin that work. The other piece is I do some private coaching. I only do like 3 people per season because my focus is the programs. But if a woman knows, you know, and that's the other thing, is the SHE program can just be personal coaching. So if a woman knows she wants the work, but doesn't know about the group space or any other aspect, I can take people just for the SHE journey of personal coaching.
Good to know, Jenna. Well, I love how you're opening your program to women who've been through it before, and then new ones coming in, and that aspect of experienced ones supporting the other ones. In the programs I offer, I love to see that too. It's like people who've been through it have that foundation, that wisdom to share. And I feel like that enriches everybody's experience.
Yeah, it builds so many networks of trust, you know, and it's almost like that's what we need more than anything right now. Are these deep-seated networks of trust.
Trust and a community that can hold each other. I feel like absolutely that is what's needed. And you're creating that there on Bainbridge and bringing in people from all over the world as well. That Bainbridge is such an amazing hub for beautiful souls. And it's just been a pleasure for me to share with your students over the years different aspects of Ayurveda, and then to touch in with them sometime later and see how they're really integrating what you've taught them, you know, from yoga and aspects of Ayurveda, and just how, and we're so fortunate, aren't we? Just how the work we do. I mean, my greatest wish is that it continues, that they continue to share with their family, with their friends, and just ripple it out into the world.
And they are. That's the thing, right? That trust is like such a big part of it, is just recognizing that when we do the work, it has no choice but to flourish, if we're really doing it, that it will create such a positive impact and change so many lives. So, yeah.
Jenna, I could talk with you for hours about these topics. I want to hear more about the SHE program in detail. And just for the sake of our conversation today, I want to just open it up to if there's anything you've been thinking about or contemplating, words of wisdom for people that you've been holding in your heart that you feel you want to share at this time.
Okay. All right. So my greatest arc of learning right now is in vulnerability. And like I was sharing with a friend today, not necessarily like Brene Brown's version of vulnerability, but like deep, deep, deep vulnerability. And the kind that like you don't talk about necessarily on a podcast, the kind that you talk about when you're deep and in person and exchanging warm data with another living human being. And whether that's in intimacy or whether that's in the ability to let myself be in the unknown and experience it, like that's my arc. And I think the thing that I want to share that is such a profound part of the program, but also my experience right now, is like, it's fascinating how if we've had experiences early in our life that were too vulnerable, right? Where we were caught off guard, or we shouldn't have been that vulnerable, then what can happen throughout our life, and certainly what's happened to me, is that then I have to get vulnerable again and again, whether that's get vulnerable financially, get vulnerable in the business, in something happening, catching me off guard, the rug being pulled out from under my feet. My deep psyche is going to throw up all the different experiences that help me relive that vulnerability until I'm willing to fully feel it. Like fully feel it and go like, okay, like I'm going to let that feeling ride through my body. That's how I'm going to be in this. I'm not going to try and numb it. I'm not going to try and, like, for instance, in the market, we just love to turn from vulnerability into making money, or turn from vulnerability into productivity. And instead of making that quick turn, like, I'm going to allow myself to feel this fully. And I'm going to speak it to the people around me and say like, ooh, I'm feeling really scared. Vulnerability is feeling scared. So the ability to say, I'm feeling scared, I'm witnessing myself, like feeling really uncomfortable and too vulnerable, and I'm committed to feeling it. So yeah, I think, I just really want to encourage women out there to be really present with their feelings, and especially feelings that feel super familiar. And anything that's escalating, right? Like if life is getting more and more challenging, if things are feeling intense, to really slow and recognize like it's getting more intense because my life wants me to feel it,
Wow, that's a really nice note to kind of wrap up our conversation on. It's getting more intense because life wants me to feel it. That's so powerful. And to feel that in such a way that one feels safe and supported, be able to express it. And I think the circles that you're creating, women allow that safety to be able to explore, first of all, but then to express it and then to be held and just watch that transform into something we can't even imagine, this blossoming that occurs.
Right. That we can't even imagine. Yeah.
Jenna, I could just go on and on.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so inspired. To look more into what you're offering. I feel really confident in sharing your teachings and your offerings with my clients and friends, and just send you so much love. I'm just so happy for you, proud of you, cheering for you with all that you're doing.
Thank you for your love and support. Your clients are so lucky.
Thanks, Jenna.